everyone and welcome back to my booktube channel, Lisa in Bookland. Today I'm here to bring you my TBR for May of the Moderns and also one extra book that I'm going to read for Misery May. So May of the Moderns is hosted by the lovely Margaret and I'll link her announcement video down below. And yeah, I was kind of tied between that and Misery May, but I'm kind of duplicating this as a little bit of a kind of TBR clear out readathon for myself. Yeah, I had a lot of kind of modern books on my TBR that I wanted to read, but Misery May also sounds so fun. That's hosted by Gem at GemofBooks and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and it's all about reading like miserable books. So I am actually joining in their group read, so I might actually mention that first. So their group read is going to be Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. The whole readathon in fact is kind of inspired by Thomas Hardy, I suppose, being known as a very miserable author. I read some Thomas Hardy last year. I read tested novels such as Miserable, and The Trumpet Major, which wasn't quite so miserable but still quite miserable. But I've heard that Jude the Obscure is his most miserable book. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily the one I was planning to read first. I was planning to keep it for a bit, but then when I heard that they were doing it for the group read, I just thought it'd be fun to read it with other people, and yeah, we could all be miserable together. So I will be joining in on that, and really looking forward to it because I really loved Thomas Hardy last year, and I had thought by this stage of the year that I might have like read more of him, but yeah, I just haven't yet, so glad to have the excuse. I think for that readathon in particular, I'm just looking forward to the videos that everybody makes about it. I wouldn't say, like, I suppose I don't read a lot of light books, but I do, and I enjoy a little bit of misery in books, but I think on the whole I do like books to have a bit of joy or a bit of hope in them, hence why so far from the Mad and Proud has been my favourite Thomas Hardy. But yeah, that's Misery May. Definitely check out those announcement videos if that sounds like it might be your thing. So yeah, the main event then, May of the Moderns, I basically just went through all of the books that I had on my shelf that were like written in this time period, which is 1901 to 1945, so end of the Victorian era to the end of the Second World War. And yeah, you kind of course you weren't sure immediately, but I just like googled books I wasn't sure on, and I think I've quite a varied reading list here, or at least as varied as my reading tends to be. But yes, really looking forward to this one. A lot of these books I've been excited to pick up and just haven't yet, so it's great again to just have the excuse to do that. So I don't know if you noticed from the book stack, when I started picking the first few books they were all blue or grey, so I decided that I would just read blue and grey and white books, just to narrow down what I wanted to read. So yeah, it has the added benefit of looking quite nice, I suppose, as well, so let's be as shallow as that. There are some prompts because I'm kind of using as a TBR clear out readathon. I am not following them very well, I suppose. I am hitting one or two, and one of them is actually Backlist, which is hashtag owned TBR or hashtag TBR veteran. So all of these are made for that prompt, so I won't bother mentioning that one, but the two separate ones, one of the prompts was genre, an identifiable genre read. Of course this is like the golden age of mysteries, so I haven't read a lot of mysteries, but I do have this one on my TBR, Hercule Poirot's Christmas, very festive, obviously not, but yeah, I just decided I'd read it now. I had been thinking I might leave it till December, but you know, there's usually so much else going on in December as well, I mightn't think of it at the time, so yeah, I'll just take this opportunity. What an odd cover. I suppose that's supposed to be Scrooge, potentially? I don't know, but yes. The back just says a seasonal murder, and it looks like it might potentially be set in a big house. So I've only read 2 Agatha Christie's ever, and then There Were None and Murder on the Orient Express, like 2 of the best ones. But yeah, looking forward to revisiting her because I don't think I've read them for like, I think the last Agatha Christie I read was maybe in 2013, so yes, definitely due to come back to her. I actually am hoping to read another mystery. It's the second in a series. I read the first Lord Peter Wimsey mystery in, oh my goodness, it was probably last February and haven't read another one yet, so yeah, hoping that I'll be able to get to the second one, Clouds of Witness by Dorothy L. Sayers, which is of course about Lord Peter Wimsey. I know that a lot of people say this series has quite a slow start and that it's better when Harriet Vane gets into it, but I actually did enjoy the first one, even if it wasn't like the best mystery I've ever read. So yeah, just I do own the first three, so looking forward to getting to this one. So sadly, the only other prompt I think I'm going to meet, and actually the same ones will meet, two prompts. So their first prompt is Irish or Celtic. I absolutely love that, and I'm sorry that I have no more books on my TBR that suit this. But as you'll have seen from my Irish readathon reading, I have been making my way through this Oxford Book of Irish Short Stories. So the ones I haven't managed to read any in April. April has been a busy month. So from this collection I'm going to read The Dead by James Joyce, My Little Black Ass by Pádraic and Conaire. I have to explain that ass is a colloquialism for a donkey, just so we're all clear on that one. And that's actually translated from the Irish by Ona Tourish, and one of the prompts was a translated work, so that will be so that will work for that, and maybe also The Triangle by James Stephens. So we'll see if I get any more read. So it's something that Margaret actually mentioned in her announcement video, but obviously this one publisher, Persephone Classics, publishes a lot of books from that kind of era in these lovely editions, and I own three, but this is the only one I haven't read. Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield, which was published in 1930, and yeah, of course they're famous for having a lovely design, and look at those end papers, so like 1930s-ish. So yes. So yeah, I guess this will definitely be written in epistolary format. I don't actually know anything about it. I think it's just an ordinary woman, but I do love the first line of the blurb. Listen to this. Mary stays to tea and we talk about H.G. Wells' Women's Institute, infectious illness and Journey's End. Mary says she cannot go out and see the latter because she always cries at the theatre. I actually didn't know Journey's End was... Oh my god. Sorry, I've only just realised. Isn't that such a coincidence? I love a good coincidence. But Journey's End is later on this TBR. That's wonderful. I actually had gotten it mixed up with Howard's End, which is another book that I had been intending to read, but I just decided I wouldn't get to it, so it would be impractical to even put it here. There you go. Not even Howard's End, Parade's End. Isn't Howard's End? Howard's End will meet this as well. Oh, Parade's End up there. It's all the ends in that 1901 to 1945 period. But isn't that wonderful? That's great. I wonder if they will actually go and see Journey's End in this book, which I will hold up again. But yes, so I don't really know anything else about it. I expect it'll be kind of a everyday enough life for a lady in this period. So yeah. Looking forward to returning to Persephone Classics. So we might as well mention it now, I suppose, Journey's End. So I suppose this will kind of kick off the First World War portion of this video. You know, obviously a lot of authors, I suppose, wanted to write about their experience when they came back from the war, and R.C. Sheriff was one of those. So it says that he was an officer in the East Surrey Regiment. This is actually a play, and as I mentioned, and this came to my attention. I ordered this online actually because I couldn't find it anywhere in physical form, but this came to my attention when I randomly saw it in film, and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. When I saw the film, I actually thought it was, I'll check it again now, make sure I get it right. I thought it was Parade's End. I got them mixed up in my head again, and then when I googled it, it was actually a different thing altogether. I really wanted to have a DVD of it, but I don't think they released it on DVD, which is a huge pity. But it says that Stanhope is hailed by his men as one of the best company captains in the army, but after 3 years on the front line he's nervous and exhausted. So yeah, it was really just about, there was very few characters in it as far as I can remember, and very few like kind of like actual battle scenes, but it was really just focusing on these officers in their dugout and the things they were struggling with about the war, and it was just a really, really powerful movie. So yeah, looking forward to returning to it in script form. So yeah, the other one I think I will get to in this genre, obviously Parade's End, I don't think I will, but it's this one, Company K by William March. So this book I first remember being mentioned by Jen at Jen the Librarian's channel. I can't remember if she said she was going to read it or whether she'd already read it and liked it. I haven't a chance of finding the video, sorry Jen. Yeah, it just struck me as interesting. I think especially because it says that this was the first World War novel to come out of America. It was written in 1933 and it is the unforgettable account of one US Marine company from initial training through to the trenches in France and post-war rehabilitation. So yeah, I just think quite unusual because I suppose reading in English you mostly come across the experiences, sorry my cat is preening himself in the background, of British soldiers. I don't think I've ever read anything from the perspective of an American soldier, so yeah, that'll just be a new one I suppose. And yeah, just again a lovely addition. This is actually really interesting. It seems to be, the chapters are really short, like a page or 2 pages, and it seems to circle between many, they all have different names. I can't see anybody here repeating even once. It seems to be all just different soldiers in the same company. That's interesting. I wonder if that will give a really good clear picture of like the overall experience, or whether it'll just be like really confusing when we're swapping perspectives all the time. But yeah, that actually made me way more intrigued. I actually hadn't flipped through this. Yeah. Okay, so the only reread I have on this, and I'm rereading it because I read it for the first time when I was very young. I have down here that it was bought for me in 2004. I don't remember it being a favourite or anything. I probably didn't really understand it, but it is The Call of the Wild by Jack London, which is of course an American children's classic. It was first published in 1903. So this kind of it reminded me I needed to reread this book because again I saw a few clips of the film. It was on telly one evening, but I was actually going out, so I didn't get to see the rest of it. But it reminded me really that I should reread it now that I did not know anything about the Gold Rush or anything. I'd been so clueless. So yeah, I think it'll be more interesting and more enjoyable now, or at least when I was an older child maybe. But I know it's told from the perspective of Book the dog in the Gold Rush, as I said, and I think he starts to feel kinship with the wolves up there when he's really a working dog. And yeah, I just can't remember how it ends at all. So yeah, it'll be I suppose nice to have a children's classic in there as well, among all the heavier reading. And finally then, I'm putting this on as kind of an option if I do end up having the time for it. So like Parade's End, I have to keep checking it to make sure I don't get wrong. Parade's End was long, but this is still long, but maybe a small bit shorter, and I suppose I just thought might be nice to have some kind of non-fiction in there as well. So this is The Heart of the Antarctic by Sir Ernest Shackleton. I suppose Antarctic exploration has been on my mind since reading Snow Widows in April, which I really enjoyed. It is obviously focusing on a different expedition, the Nimrod expedition, which took place from 1907 to 1909, and this is Sir Ernest Shackleton's actual account of the journey. I don't like, it'll be really interesting to read this because Shackleton was actually Irish. He came from Kildare, and yeah, I haven't made it to like the Shackleton Museum yet there, but I really would like to. So maybe after I read this, that'll be a nice little summer trip for me. So it is long, like the text is quite dense, but even if I read a little bit of it and keep it going through the summer, I think that'll be a good project. So yes, the only other book I know I'll be reading in April then is nothing to do with this time period. It's actually for my own personal Victorian literature reading project. So when I look back on my TBR, I actually had Dr. Thorne listed for this month, and Jill by Amy Delwyn for April, but I managed to mix them up in my head, and I'm actually reading Dr. Thorne at the moment in April as I'm filming this. So there'll be a swap around. So now it'll be Jill by Amy Delwyn in May. So yeah, let me know if you're taking part in either of these readathons. Thanks for your patience for replying to comments and things. As I said, I've just had such a busy April. I know I say that every month, but honestly I just got some work offloaded off me there yesterday, which is such a relief. So yeah, hopefully I will have more time for everything from now on. So yes, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday for my next video.